Hello everyone, back tuning into this morning's video. It's Monday at GazWebBiz.com, which means only one thing: it's Europe Day. Every Monday at GazWebBiz.com, we have a look at the weather for the coming week across the continent, and today is no exception. So we'll run through the charts in a moment, and you'll be able to see what's happening across the continent this week. Hint: it's very hot currently across many central parts of Europe. Going to stay very warm really throughout much of the coming week, but just signs next weekend. But we may start bringing some cooler air down from the north, but really a very warm week is coming up. Now, before I get on with the weekend forecast for Europe, just want to talk about the advertising in this video ad. So page is at GazWebBiz.com, and if you press play on the video ad, you'll be supporting GazWebBiz.com. Thanks so much for doing that. The website we're using for the video is webcentral.de, a wonderful German website, so you can find that on the links page if you want to look at these charts for yourself. So here we are then with today's pressure chart. It's a little bit unsettled out to the west. We've got these troughs of low pressure, shallow troughs of low pressure. Really quite a complex setup for Ireland, the United Kingdom, western parts of France going down towards Spain and Portugal. Quite weak pressure there. And then we've got this ridge of high pressure through many central parts of Europe, extended up from the Mediterranean into Central Europe. When it becomes weak again up over Scandinavia, this area of high pressure has got some very hot air underneath it. If you have a look at the upper air temperatures, look at that. That really is very, very hot for this early in summer. We've got the 20 Celsius isotherm extending up from North Africa through the Mediterranean, Spain and Portugal, going through France and getting up to Germany. That is very unusual, I think, for this early in the summer. Now to the north it's a little bit cooler, still warm, but it's cooler over Scandinavia, as you would expect, a little bit more sensible really. And for the United Kingdom and for Ireland, we're just on the periphery of that heat, but these central parts of Europe, very, very hot today. And going with that heat is a lot of convective potential, although much of this isn't going to be realised. When these colours get as vibrant as this, going into the reds and the pinks, very often you actually find that you don't get that much convection. It tends to be when you've got the greens and the yellows and the oranges that you tend to get more in way of convection. So despite looking at that and thinking there's going to be widespread storms across the continent today, if we actually have a look at the precipitation forecast, we have got some storms here across northern parts of France, particularly going down in towards the Bay of Biscay, of course, over the Pyrenees. Also, I think the Low Countries, Holland, Belgium, could be in for some thunderstorms this afternoon, but the bulk of France and Germany actually is staying dry today. So go back to that convection. So that's quite interesting. You would look about and think there's going to be widespread and severe storms. Not the case really. The air is pretty dry under that area of high pressure. So yeah, that's the reason why much of France and Germany actually not having storms. We've got some thunderstorms over the Alps, of course. Also, risk of showers or thunderstorms through Ireland and the United Kingdom. And there comes some heavy showers up over Scandinavia as well. But much of Eastern Europe actually dry until we come down in towards Greece, where we could find a few showers or thunderstorms down there. The temperatures today, well, look at these temperatures, really, really on. Extending up from Spain and Portugal, going up through France into Germany. Germany today could have temperatures of 34, 35, 36 degrees. That's not far off 100 Fahrenheit, and extending through in towards Poland as well. I'm not sure if that's record breaking. Maybe somebody can set me straight on this, but at least in Germany, if you're watching this video, I'd love to know whether these are record breaking temperatures for this early in the summer. But that's very, very hot for this early on. More sensible temperatures ready for the UK and Ireland. Generally around 21, 22, 23. It's still warm, warmer than it should be, but more sensible. And also more sensible with the temperatures up over Scandinavia. Of course, it's hot through the Mediterranean, but you expect it to be hot there. Going through into the middle of the week, the worst of that heat, or maybe the best of the heat, will be pushed off towards the east as this ridge of high pressure builds in from the Atlantic. It'll be settled and it'll be warm, but it'll be bringing slightly cooler, fresher air in. Always more unsettled up to the northwest across Scandinavia. So there's the heat. Worst of the heat, as I say, going off in towards eastern parts of Europe through the middle of the week, with temperatures lowering slightly, but still very warm, if not hot, through many central and western parts of the continent. The convective potential, again, is going to be mainly through France, in towards Germany, down into Italy, over the Adriatic and to the Balkans. Of course, we've got that heat drifting eastwards all the time. The convective potential is easing off for the UK and Ireland, also for northern France. And we have got some convective potential up over Scandinavia as well. Here's where precipitation is, and that's pretty good in fact with the convective potential through the middle of the week. So they do align as we get through the middle of the week with storms stretched out from northern Spain in towards southern east parts of France, into southern Germany, and then going down in towards the Adriatic and around the Balkans. That's as the heat is being pushed eastwards, no doubt by a shallow trough. Showers up over Scandinavia, could be some hail and thunder mixed in there, mainly dry through the Mediterranean. It has to be said, a few shower perhaps of Corsica and Sardinia, also mainly dry up to the northeast of Europe as well. The heat is being pushed eastwards. It still is on the German-Poland border though, still up to 34, 35, possibly 36 degrees, getting on 100 Fahrenheit again through the middle of the week. But notice temperatures through France and Germany are lowering, or most of Germany are lowering back in towards the mid to upper 20s Celsius. That seems to be 80s Fahrenheit. It still is well above where we should be at this time of year, but it is lowering compared to where we are now. Cooler and fresher. The United Kingdom are still pretty good, and of course hot through the Med. Once again, going through to the end of the week, well, we could start bringing some cooler air, this trough of low pressure down in Scandinavia. That could be a sign of things to come through next weekend, but otherwise high pressure is really extending in through many parts of Europe at the end of the week. The heat is down in the south and the southeast, I think, as you get through to the end of the week. Very hot through Spain and Portugal, heat building there again, very hot through much of the Mediterranean, as you would expect, also in southeastern Europe as well. Pretty warm through most of central and northern Europe, but cooling down over Scandinavia with that trough of low pressure, bringing some colder air down in towards parts of Finland, Norway and Sweden. The convective potential at the end of the week showed that we've got a risk of thunderstorms here through northern parts of Spain, over the Pyrenees, in towards southern France, going over to the Alps. Much of Italy having a risk of thunderstorms, and still down in towards the Balkans, over the Adriatic, got some convective potential there. The precipitation forecast shows that's where the storms really are, across northern parts of Spain, into southern France, over the Alps and down through Italy, in towards the Adriatic, into southeast Europe. Well, largely dry through much of France and Germany and Poland, and on into Ukraine as well, largely dry through those regions. Showers or longer spells of rain through Scandinavia as that trough is digging southwards, and there could be some heavy showers on the east coast of the United Kingdom, but I'm not sure about that. And then finally going through in towards next weekend, the high pressure is beginning to retrogress a little bit. That's where high pressure goes from east to west, and it's pulling out into the Atlantic, allowing cooler, fresher northerly winds to begin to drop down into the continent. So looking at the upper air temperatures are showing that we're easing off with the temperatures next weekend. It is cooling down through Ireland, through the UK, through the Low Countries, much of northern France, Germany, Poland, and then going up into towards Scandinavia. Not cold, of course, it is summer, so it won't be cold, but certainly cooler, and a lot cooler compared to where we are right now. The heat is down over Spain and Portugal, through the Med, and into the southeast of Europe. Convective potential is really through the Mediterranean, from Corsica and Sardinia, through Italy, over the Adriatic, and down into the southeast of Europe. That is also where the precipitation is shown that thunderstorms are going to be. So again, lining up very nicely with the convective potential and the precipitation forecast next weekend. Again, from Corsica, Sardinia, over the Alps, through Italy, into over the Adriatic, into the Balkans, down in southeast Europe. That's where the thunderstorms are. Mainly dry in many other parts of Europe until we come to these showers up over Scandinavia. And there'll also be a cold front dropping southwards through the UK. That's probably going to be quite weak, but it could be enough to produce a few showers. But get ready for this. Here's the temperatures next weekend. Much cooler. Look at that. We're back down in towards the upper teens or the low 20s there for many parts of Europe. Around the Baltic Sea, probably just make that out. We're somewhere around 11 or 12 degrees at best. That's probably a bit on the low side. But many parts of Europe back down to where we should be, or maybe even a little bit below average as we get through to next weekend. The heat is really through the Mediterranean. So it looks as though we're going to cool things down next weekend, but until we get to that, it's going to be a very warm week across many parts of Europe. Particularly hot in central areas today, and then that heat will drift eastwards with time through the course of the week, ending up in the far southeast of Europe by next weekend as things start to turn cooler from the north And where that takes us as we go through into the third week of June, we'll have to wait and see. That's all now. Hope that video interesting. Enjoy the heat if you enjoy it. Across Central Europe Day, very, very hot day. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.